years. He's probably one of the most amazing people I've ever met. You definitely inspired me when you came to visit as a roadie for Invisible Children. But Brady has a great heart, and just probably one of the nicest evenings I've spent in a long time, just sitting with you guys talking. And you have definitely an inspirational just way of living, and it really set my heart in a good place. So we're just glad that you could share with us too, because you definitely are one of those people who's authentic, and I admire everything you're doing. Okay, ready?
Thanks, Brady.
So if you had to describe yourself as a breakfast cereal, which one would you be and why?
Okay. Is it a cereal or any breakfast food?
Well, I guess you can do a breakfast food, okay.
Okay. I mean, I'm changing the question. I don't know, I think toast. Because you can serve it in a million different ways, but it's really simple. And I like toast a lot. I guess it's plain, it's simple, and everyone likes it.
Yeah, and if anybody wants Brady,
I don't know.
You would like Brady. He's amazing. Okay, tell me what the term authenticity means to you.
To me, authenticity, I think it can be a way of living. It can be a way of working. And I think that it's attractive when you see real authenticity. You can't help but be drawn to it because it's something that we all desire. So whether it's an organization or whether it's a person or a company or a product that you see, if it's authentic, if it's real, then it's attractive. I think authenticity is attractive.
Share a time when you really felt like you were truly following your heart.
I would say I was truly following my heart when, right after I graduated college, I went to work with a nonprofit in Colorado, and I knew that I wouldn't be getting paid for a while. Just interning, it just takes time out of college. You can't expect to have a full-time paid job right away. And so I interned for the summer, and I interned in the fall, and I came back in the spring, and I knew that I still probably wouldn't be getting paid, but there was something about this organization. It's called Light Gives Heat, and I was working with them, and there was just something about it that I realized that, this is something I could be doing for a while. And if I don't get paid, like, is money the reason I'm doing this, or am I doing it because I believe that it's what I should be doing, and I want this to be a part of my life. And so when I made the decision to return to work with them with the knowledge that money wasn't going to be a part of the equation, then that was a time where I really realized that, wow, following my heart, like, it's good, but it's going to require sacrifice. And I really feel like that time in my life was a turning point in realizing what the cost is of following your heart, literally and figuratively. So yeah, I would point to that moment.
Tell me how you define success.
Success. Well, there are a lot of different kinds of success, and I think every person has their own way to gauge their success. But I think for me, if I'm being successful, and if I am living and I find that, I don't know, I think success is something that is a mixture of things. And I think some of the most important things for me to be a success are to surround myself with loving and like-hearted and like-minded people. I think that to be a success for me, there has to be an element of risk-taking and knowing that my success doesn't solely ride on my success, on my accomplishments or my failures, but that success is a big picture. It's a way of approaching the world, and I think that defeat often takes the form of settling down and not looking for ways to grow or expand your horizons. So, yeah, I think success would be the opposite of that. Always growing. And maybe success isn't something that you can't reach and stay. Success is not stagnant, I guess is what I would say.
I like that.
Yeah.
Tell me who inspires you and why.
Besides you, because that's the answer. Man, there are a lot of people that inspire me. I think I can point to a guy I worked with at Invisible Children. His name is Jedediah, and I know you and I talked about him, but I think a lot of people would be inspired by him. And I think the reason that he's inspiring to me is his sense of purpose is just so clear. And you see it just radiate from him. And I don't know, you just look at him and people are like, how can he be so just vibrant all the time? And it's not that he's got superhuman abilities, or it's not that he's faking it. It's because he has found freedom in letting himself be himself. And that's just beautiful, and it's inspiring because he's not making boatloads of money. He's working in an office with a bunch of interns, and it's not the sexiest, most glamorous job, but he's free, and he's himself all the time. And I think that is one thing that's inspiring to me about him. And the work, when I got to work with him, I just really admired that about him. And that's what I would like to see more of in myself. Yeah.
It's hard to do.
It really is. There's so much vulnerability that goes into being authentic and being a free person, and not being ashamed of being free when you're around people that don't feel like they have permission, or don't feel worthy of being themselves. Yeah. And it's just it's a strange dynamic when you're in an environment where there are some people that are so strongly themselves, and there are some people that are just kind of along for the ride, you know. And I hope that I can work in an environment that there's freedom, you know, to be who you are.
You'll find
it.
Yeah. You'll find it. I know you will.
Yeah.
Where have you seen the power of connectedness in your life? Part of the Authenticity Project, we really want to connect people with other, part of the world. Just understand that we're all together in this. And, where have you seen that play out in your life?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I know I keep pointing back to Invisible Children, and for good reason, because it's such a beautiful place to work. And when I set foot in the doors of Invisible Children in March is when I began the video Coney 2012, and the Coney 2012 campaign just took off. And we started getting emails from people asking about how they could get involved. And I was part of the team that was responding to these emails and directing them in the right, who they could get in touch with and the right way to go. And we were getting emails from like Azerbaijan, Belarus, Taiwan, Australia, South Africa. I mean, all over the place. It was insane. And just seeing the way that the global community saw an issue and was moved to respond was just unbelievable. And even driving through the streets with a Coney 2012 sticker, or driving in the Invisible Children van, you would always see somebody that was like waving or just excited about the work that was being done and that they could be a part of it.
It's definitely exciting. I know kids, when they see the van, I saw the van! It's just cool because you know, something to rally around, and I think we want that, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Tell me an experience that you've had that shifted your perspective about something.
Ooh, man. Well, when I was in college, I took a course called Business and Professional Speaking, and it was a good course, but I went to school in western Kansas at a small Division II university, and most of the class was just middle class white demographic, not a whole lot of diversity there, but so the professor of this class, every Friday she would say, okay, you have an impromptu speech to give today, and she would throw out a topic, and we would have to give a 5-minute speech if we were called on about whatever she wanted us to talk about. And it was really intimidating sometimes, and she would have us just be uncomfortable for a little bit and try to work out our feelings and our thoughts that way. And every Friday, people would just be like praying, like, please don't call on me, I don't want to do this, you know. And they would get up and they'd kind of stumble through a 5-minute speech. But one day, she said, I want you to think about one day or one moment in your life that something happened, an event, something in your life, that after that moment you were never the same. And I want you to talk about it. And the immense diversity of stories that came from this group of students that I had previously thought were all very similar and came from similar backgrounds was astounding. We had a girl that was riding the bus one morning, and she got a call or the bus driver got a call and said, hey, pull over and drop this girl off. And they dropped her off just on the side of the road where her mom was waiting for her, and her dad had just passed away. And so she became like one of the caretakers of her younger siblings, like when she was 8 years old. And we had another girl who, on September 11th, a member of her community was in one of the planes that hit the World Trade Center. And, I mean, it just gnarly stories coming out of the mouths of my peers that I had just assumed unfairly that didn't have good stories. And the crazy thing about that day was that everyone that got up and spoke with such confidence and sincerity and such ease, because they were the experts on their own story. They didn't have to be nervous. They were just being themselves. And they spoke beautifully. People that were stumbling and stuttering over their words were now speaking with clarity and with confidence. And it just moved me in a way that made me realize that everybody has a story to tell. Everybody wants to tell their story. not everybody is willing to listen. And if we can listen to people's stories and their experiences, I think that it would just change the way that we see each other and the way that the world interacts with each other, and we would just understand a little bit more where someone's coming from if we just took time to listen to a story. Yeah.
That's a good one. Tell me, have you ever set aside fear to move forward?
I don't think I've ever set it aside, but I've carried it behind me. I think that fear can stop someone dead in their tracks, and I know that I've been stopped by fear before, but I think it can also be a good indicator that you're going on the right track. Because if you were doing something that wasn't worthwhile, then there wouldn't be any resistance. I don't think you would feel fear if you were just living an ordinary life. I think that fear is an indicator that something's going on and that something big is about to happen. And I think disregarding it is something that some people can do, but I wouldn't for a second think that dismissing fear is the right action for me to take, because if I'm going to measure where I've come from and how far I've gone, I need to include my fears in that measurement and help me gauge my development as a person and as a soul. Yeah.
See why I like Brady? He's so smart. Well, what is one question you would love to ask people and why?
Oh, man. I think I really like that question that my speech teacher asked. What's one moment or one day that changed you? Because I think it's not a threatening question, but it certainly opens up a big door to understand where a person is coming from and where they've been and where they're going. Because I think a lot of times those defining moments in our lives can be an indicator of the character of a person and the kind of things that they value. Yeah. I'd probably be that question. Yeah.
Okay, one more. If you had a superhero power, what would it be and why?
He's technically a supervillain, but I think he's a misunderstood supervillain. His name is Magneto, and he has magnetism. He could attract metal things and do cool stuff with it. And I just always thought he was cool. And not because he's bad, but because of his power. I mean, you can build stuff and fly around, and I'm sure you could play some cool pranks on people. I don't know. That's just always been my answer, and I like it, so I'm sticking with it. What about you, Heidi? What's your superpower?
That's a good question.
You can't ask the question and
not have asked it myself. I think my superhero power, I would love to just be able to hold up some kind of mirror to people, that they would immediately be able to see who they truly are. And I think sometimes we don't really look at who we truly are, and I think that's the role of great people in our lives, that if they can help you look at who you truly are. And sometimes that reflects back things you don't like and you'd want to alter or change, but sometimes it reflects back who you were really meant to be. And that we're really afraid of that. You know, we're afraid that we actually have power and we could do something amazing. And, you know, I would want to be able to reflect that for people either way so they could see who they can be. Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know, there's a superhero that has that. Super mirror girl? I don't
know. Mirror hands.
Magic mirror hands girl? I don't know, yeah. Wait, you look at it. Who are you?
Okay. Cool.
Anything else you want to share? Where you're at in life, journey? What you're thinking about?
Yeah, man. I think this past summer, I really came face to face. There was a mirror put in front of me. Just with a lot of my anxiety and feelings of inadequacy. There were a few times over the summer that I started having panic attacks, which were real. I mean, they're scary. And you realize that, man, there's a lot of stuff going on all the time in your mind that you maybe aren't aware of or don't think is important to deal with. But, yeah, I can just point back to times over the summer where I experienced these things and I was like, am I going crazy? Like, I literally thought, I'm going crazy. There's something wrong up here. I need to be in a hospital or something like that. And I started, like, doing research online and figuring out, like, well, what is anxiety really? And I just saw that there are so many people that are dealing with anxiety and depression and it's like, how did I never know about this? I mean, millions and millions of people deal with this stuff. And it's like, I don't know, people avoid talking about it or admitting it, you know, and I don't think that's healthy. You know, if you're dealing with something, don't be ashamed of it. In fact, once you speak it into the universe, into relationships, chances are you'll probably meet somebody who has dealt with it before. Right. And they can help you out. I mean, I talked with a few people that I worked with over the summer, and one of them was like, oh, yeah, I had panic attacks for a year when I was in second grade. Or, oh, yeah, I dealt with panic attacks all through high school. I'm like, really? So I'm not a weirdo. And they're like, no, it's just something that happens to people, and you can totally deal with it. And you're not going crazy. It feels like you are, but you aren't. And it was just freeing, you know, and I think if more people shared the things that they view as weakness or a disability, I think they would be incredibly surprised to find that there are a lot of people dealing with very similar issues and that it's nothing to be ashamed of. So, yeah, that's something I learned this summer.
That's huge. Not a little thing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, parting words, anything?
Oh, man. Just be true to who you are and stop at nothing. There we go.
Try to work that slogan right back in there.
You gotta put it in there, you know? Yep. Stop at nothing.